Hello, and welcome to Forge of Champions. My name is Scoundrel, and I'm joined by Gosu and Dalsy on the desk here, and we are into our final stage of Forge of Champions 3. We are over 3/4 of the, or just about coming up to 3/4 of the way through all of our scoring tournaments here at Forge of Champions. Boys, it is a delight to have you here. How are you feeling?
Fantastic. I mean, we're well fed. I mean, we're here now to cast
I
games.
ate 500, half a litre of ice cream before we started, so I feel good.
It was so much ice cream.
It was just too much ice cream. It was, I want to say it was a mistake, but you handled it like a champ.
Yeah.
No mistake.
You made it look good.
500 milliliters of ice cream, that's what I eat for breakfast, mate.
Pints of ice cream.
Right.
Really good tasting ice cream as well. That was the best part about it.
Awesome ice cream.
He loved the lemon flavor.
Loved lemon ice cream here. Right, we're going to move on. If you don't know what Forge of Champions is, then I believe we have a little short graphic to sort of show you the overall structure, because it can be quite confusing for a new viewer to see what Forge of Champions is like. However, we've managed to break it down for you in a really easy way. Once we get there, we'll get there, but you know, it's coming in a second, so let's have a look at it right now. So, Forge of Champions is split into 4 individual scoring tournaments, each with their own unique rewards. Each scoring tournament is split into 2 stages, the open and the scoring stage. The open stage allows up to 64 teams from across the UK and Ireland to sign up and compete for a spot in the subsequent scoring stage. The top 8 teams from the tournament will qualify and are seeded based on their finishing position in the open bracket. The scoring stage takes the 8 best teams from the open division and matches them with the 8 invited teams from the previous premiership. Here the teams play from a round of 16 bracket, with teams earning points based on their final position at the end of the tournament. The top 8 teams will also earn a chunk of the $50,000 prize pool. Points ramp up over the 4 tournaments, and the teams with the most points, or the 8 teams with the most points at the end of these 4 tournaments, will qualify for our grand final. The grand final will determine our overall winner and who takes home the lion's share of that £50,000. Teams also have an added incentive, with 2 EU Masters spots up for grabs. The teams with the most points at the end of the tournament stage will automatically qualify, with our second spot going to our overall champions. There we go. Got that one out of the way. Tick that box off. Tick structure of the competition.
You do it so well. At this point, it sounds like it's pre-recorded.
It sounds like it's pre-recorded, but I assure you, my friends, it is not. Right, moving on. If you want to be involved in Forge of Champions, you can go to forgeofchampions.com and sign up. It is really important to note that the next tournament after this is our final scoring tournament. It is also the tournament that is worth the most points. So if you are a budding League of Legends competitive player, or you just want to be involved in competition, make sure you head over to forgeofchampions.com, where you can register your team or register as an individual player, where we will find you a team and stick you with some randoms and hope you do well.
There's also extra incentive to play in the next tournament, which we'll get to
We'll
later.
get to that in a minute, because we have got a special incentive to make you guys sign up, which we'll get to in just a minute. If you want to be involved on social media, make sure you check out our Twitter, which is @LVPUK. And if you want to talk about this tournament specifically, it is #ForgeOfChampions3. If you'd like to catch up on any of the videos that you may have missed, any teams that you want to investigate, or any teams that you'd just like to see play again, you can go to the YouTube, which is @LVPUK, or just search LVPUK on YouTube and it should come up. So you can go search there. It has all the past VODs of all of our broadcasts. So again, you can get some idea for what teams like to play. So moving on, boys, we have a crazy Twitter question to ask you guys at home using the hashtag ForgeOfChampions3. Boys, what do you think the question should be today?
Oh, we just get to make up a question?
You get to make it, because there's another question for the competition, but I've got another. I've got a question.
I thought this was the other question.
No, just make up a question for me.
Heads or tails?
No, that's a terrible question. Okay, guys.
He put us on the spot. We spent how long together today, Scoundrel?
Shut up, Dalsy. I'm going to give them a question. Right, you can see here we've got Tibbers, we've got Timo, and we've got a Moo Moo mugs on the desk. Which champion would make your mug? There you go. Best question ever asked on LVP UK's Forge of Champions. Moving on, we actually have a really cool incentive for you guys to be involved on in Forge of Champions.
I don't even get the question.
Like, what champion do you want as a mug, Dalsy? It's really easy. Right.
I don't know if it be face mug or mug like.
Like these mugs, they are faces. Let me move on with the important part. The next part is a really, really cool added incentive for you guys to play in Forge of Champions in the next upcoming tournament. We have, courtesy of Riot, a pool party giveaway, which is coming up with the new pool party skins. I believe it's Zoe, Caitlyn, and Graves.
Nope.
No, Graves has already been there. Gangplank. Looks like Graves.
Yeah.
So we have a pool party giveaway. We have 3 bundles, I think, to give away. And what you need to do is you need to enter it yourself or a team in forgeofchampions.com. So you need to go to forgeofchampions.com and register. You need to follow LVP UK on Twitter. I like Dazzy's giving you the second point there. And third point is you need to answer the question posed with the hashtag pool party Forge of Champions or pool party FOC. And that question is not the question about the mugs. No. That question is, if you were to go to a desert island, which of the pool party skins themed champions would be the best one to take?
And why?
And why? Yeah, very important part.
Least in, so that you have like an unlimited supply of pina coladas.
Okay, that's good. Source of hydration. You'll get really drunk though. What about you? Who would be your favorite?
I'd probably go with Nami because she just creates water and she's a fish. She got fish.
Is there pool party Nami?
Is there?
No,
I
I
don't
don't.
think there is. I'm an idiot. No, I'm completely wrong.
She's just from the water.
Yeah.
He just got a bit confused.
Just like, probably go with Lee Sin then. Yeah, Ziggs as well actually would be great for fishing. But you're in the desert, so that doesn't work either. I'm going to leave swiftly off this question.
I would take Graves because he could just like shoot water at me if I was getting too hot on the island, and also like directly shoot water into my mouth to keep me hydrated, which is better than pina coladas. So yeah, I'd take Graves. There we go. We've answered. Now's your time. Remember, hashtag Pool Party FOC. So I'm getting confused here. Hashtag Pool Party FOC. Make sure you answer the question and you do the other steps, which was enter at forgeofchampions.com and follow LVP UK on Twitter. And that was the question. So now we can actually get on with the good stuff. Well, not that that wasn't good, but this is the Forge of Champions 3. So we're into the semi-finals here, and I believe we are going to have a look at the brackets. Let's take a look at the bracket if we can, and we'll explain to you what is going to be happening over the next 2 days. The first semi-final that we have is EXCEL versus Wind and Rain. Wind and Rain had a shocker of a time in the second tournament because of some admin issues, but they have come back and they look strong, and they're going up against our current reigning Forge of Champions, which is EXCEL Esports. We then have a second semi-final of the night where Hyperion go on to take Enclave, and that is obviously going to be a very, very big game in itself because Enclave are on a tear right now, but as a Hyperion, they've really stepped things up. So lots of action to have tonight, and boys, I'm going to move us on to the first semi-final, EXCEL versus Wind and Rain. Go Sue, hit me with stuff about this semi-final. I want to know stuff.
Well, to be honest, I'm really excited about this. I think obviously EXCEL are coming through. They just won the last tournament, so they're coming off of a hot streak. But I kind of want to see how Wind and Rain fare in this. They got into the finals of the first tournament, weren't so lucky, they ended up losing out to Diablos. Then they didn't get through and seeding in the second one, admin issues. But I mean, this is their kind of time to bring it back. Everything is super close at the moment, so a win here could really put them back in shape for going in towards that fourth scoring tournament.
Yeah, and when you say admin issues, like it is just a case of like the players messing up. Like,
yeah,
it's not
I mean obviously, but
I don't know.
We all make mistakes. Yeah. We all make mistakes, mate.
But that's the really interesting thing that has been caused out of this is that we really just don't know where Wind and Rain are at this point in time. But of course, the fact that they won their previous game against Misfits 2-1, that shows that they're in a fairly good spot still. They were the team that made it to the finals against Diablos back in the first qualifying tournament. That was a swift 3-0, if I remember it correctly, to Diablos. So didn't really touch them back then, and that was when Diablos were kind of unfigured out. But I think people really started to figure them out, and that's an issue that Diablos are going to have to get around. So if Wind and Rain can kind of bring the quality of play that we know against them against EXCEL, then we should have a series on our hands, but I don't think anyone really wants to bet against EXCEL. Yeah,
I think EXCEL are definitely the hot team right now in Forge of Champions. However, you raised a really nice point, is that we don't know the power level of Wind and Rain because we haven't talked about them because they've just not been here. Like, that's the problem. Yeah, we had them in the first tournament. Obviously, we saw a bit of them then. They kind of had a decent showing in the final, but the fact is they made it to the final. So we know that they're good enough to make it to the final. Mm-hmm. We didn't see them in Forge of Champions 2. We're now having a look at them in Forge of Champions 3, and they've made it again to the semi-finals. So they're obviously one of the potential top 4 teams that we've got in this tournament. I want to see how they do against EXCEL because this is the test for them. If they go out 2-1 here, that is, for me, assessing their power level probably like 3rd or 4th. If they beat EXCEL here, this is big, big, big things for them.
In the first qualifying tournament, they had a really easy path as well. I believe they went up against Phelan or something, one of the teams that came through from the
tougher teams in the tournament.
And then they played against M&M. Eminem's obviously a solid roster, but you know, not one of the rosters that I think we have pegged to get into the finals most times. So the win against Misfits is huge, but then also what the hell are Misfits doing this season?
Yeah,
so
I mean, we could talk about Misfits for ages,
really
right?
Need, like there's just so many like caveats to the Wind and Rain story, which even though we do have data on them, the data is just kind of clouded by external circumstances.
Yeah, I
so
think it kind of comes back.
This series, I feel, really just like will put them on the map. Like, where do they place in the top 3, in the top 4? Can they actually compete against EXCEL? Can they beat EXCEL? Can they make it to the final?
Yeah, I think it kind of comes back to that joke of, you know, results-based analysis. It's like, yes, they've looked good, but I mean, realistically, what have their wins actually shown us? And it hasn't given us a huge amount of info.
Literally nothing.
Yeah.
At this point, apart from the Misfits win, which I feel like even though Misfits are having a relatively poor season as far as our standards for Misfits would be, it's still Misfits. They're bloody good at League of Legends.
Yeah,
still.
absolutely.
So you have to take that win, and not an easy one at that. A 2-1. There was a competition. There was, you know, some force put up there. I would love to see them just come out of the bat, out of the series swinging. You know, all bat swinging. Just take the first game, really show up and show that they're a threat here. If they can do that, then we'll really start to understand what Wind and Rain have to offer.
I think it's really important to note that this is probably the best chance for us to assess how good Wind and Rain are, because we just haven't seen them. Like we said, it's just been too difficult to assess properly what Wind and Rain are capable of, especially on stream, because they just haven't had the time to show us. They've got some results behind them. They're still looking like they're going to make the top 8, but this is the time when we kind of see them step up.
And I think if you want to look at kind of a meta shift that suits them, I mean, we're playing on 8.15, which is live. And if you're looking at
spin out an hour, boys.
Yeah. If you're looking at Kitsune, like Zillion, Vel'Koz, these are guys that both put down a lot of poke.
Sure.
So if you're looking at support, you're losing out on that pot. So something like that can be really good.
That's true.
If you're looking at Crossman in the mid lane, it's Corki, Orianna are 2 big staples for him. They are both champions that are doing super on this patch. So as well as like Kerberos in the top lane, that big split pusher, which is helping out as well. So I think if this is a patch for these guys to work off of, I think it could be working well.
What Wind and Rain do have going for them is they do alter traditional drafts quite heavily, because they've got Kerberos, who is known for a couple of wacky champions. They've got Akitsune, known for his Zillion, which gets banned against him quite often. It alters drafts and allows Wind and Rain to utilize power picks more often than other teams. It's just that sometimes they don't always make the best use of those power picks. So I think Wind and Rain definitely have what it takes. I just feel like this well-oiled machine of EXCEL might be too much of a challenge for them. I mean, the thing is, like, it's really difficult to say. I think the bot lane specifically is a lane where I think Wind and Rain could really stand out. I think the top lane, I love Kerberos to pieces, but it's Sendo. I mean, Sendo is just meta god, like he's just very good. And they both play Kerberos, so they both play Urgot. I always call Kerberos Urgot for some reason. They both play Urgot really well as well, so they've got quite similar champion pools to an extent.
I think top lane's going to be really fun, because it is kind of almost, these guys play the off-style top lane, and so seeing it against each other, it kind of is like once and for all who's playing that a little bit better. But like you mentioned, Sendo's like the meta king, so he could just, you know, turn it around on us and just try and counter what Kerberos is constantly bringing to the table. I'm really interested to look at the mid lane. What's Crossman going to do? Because he's had some pretty impactful plays when we have seen Wind and Rain stand out. And against Rippy, who's kind of just come into and done so much for EXCEL, just being that person that they needed in the mid lane role.
I think that's really interesting, because Crossman is aggressive. He plays a lot of LeBlanc. He plays quite aggressive champions in the mid lane. Rippy has been like a jack of all trades slot in for EXCEL. Really replaced Kremel, who had a limited champion pool, often had to draft around him, whereas Rippy is just a piece of the puzzle that gets slotted in. One of the questions I want to ask you, Gosu, is 8:15. It's literally been out about an hour. I'm sure the team sort of studied up what's going on with it, but who do we think's adapted?
I got really excited there.
I thought Champion Select was about to start, but who do you think will have adapted here?
I don't know if you can really adapt in an hour.
Yeah, well, I know, but it's a question that has to be asked, right?
I think it's kind of looking at which maneuverability kind of has come through. Like, with the meta that shifted, who does it suit more? I think overall, I think it still suits EXCEL quite a bit. So I'm kind of hyping up Wind and Rain to be these guys that could take them down. But
can you guys hear this music?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's really loud. It's just I'm just going for it.
It's the League of Legends Champion Select music.
Oh yeah.
Back in the sound test, we got asked if you enjoyed the levels, and you went, "Lovely, mate."
Did I? Well, here's my little wink to production. It's quite loud.
All right. So we got a Zillion ban and the Limbalog ban. Targeted picks against Wind and Rain and the Zoe to round things off. Aatrox and, of course, Rakan. Kerberos is the one person who's played the most Aatrox, I actually think, but he hasn't really shined yet on it, so maybe they just decided to get rid of it there.
That's very much an anti-Wind and Rain initial draft phase with the Zillion, the LeBlanc, and the Zoe ban coming through as well.
Yep.
And it leaves up Nocturne as a first pick here for EXCEL Esports. Something that Taxa has played from time to time, but that's an interesting one.
That is very interesting.
Gosu, talk to me about this, because on 8.15 we saw massive reductions in overall cost for a lot of AD carry items. So is this going to suit someone like Jhin?
It definitely does, but it's two kind of things. It's one, it's a takeaway from Fax. He's been leaning pretty heavily on the Jhin pick, and it's kind of been a staple there. It's also kind of it's been doing well with the Halo Blades rune as well, because you get that speed up. You're able to move around these fights pretty well because you're guaranteed a crit almost all the time. And it just has a nice build path as well. So yeah, it's definitely a good champion this time around, especially if you're going to have the reduced cost to all of those crit items. I saw them hovering the Nocturne as well. I was like, oh yeah, this is a great pick, but the Kindred is still open on the other side. I think they're a little bit wary of, if you pick the Nocturne, it's very easily countered by the Kindred.
She did get nerfed in 8.15 though, a little bit. Interestingly enough, I'm wondering whether the Jhin synergizes really well with the overall... I know the power level of AD carry items also dropped.
Ooh. Wow.
Whoa,
this
that's
is a
interesting.
Shift immediately.
That's looking for mid-game power spike. It spells out to me that because of the reduction in AD carry item prices, maybe they're looking for mid-game power spikes here.
So, like, obviously, the shift that's come through from the meta changes is that most of the AD carries crit items are costing less now. It's between 100 to 200.
Would you build Misfortune crit though with Pike? Like, would you
actually don't? You go if you looked at our LVP UK page, we actually put it up. It was you go Dark Harvest Hunter.
That's
Twitter.com/LVP UK.
It's actually you can go Dark Harvest Hunter, and if you land one of those Qs, the double shot through a minion, you take someone for like half their HP. It's absolutely insane. You got a bunch of late game damage, and particularly with someone like Pike, who's able to just set up so well. When you're able to execute people as well at that level 6 point, it can be so devastating to try and deal with.
I'm really interested in seeing how this Misfortune works out here. 2 extra picks that have come through. Orianna for Rippy, something that he's very talented at, has pretty good matchups mostly into the mid lane. I think people consider Orianna a safe mid lane pick in most circumstances. And Quickseth gets his hands on Thresh, which is one of his standout individual picks. Syndra coming through for Crossman here, and Syndra's early game did just get buffed.
So did Thresh's as well in the late game. So
Thresh got slightly buffed.
lots of adjustments to the new patch already. Crossman. Oh, did he play Syndra? I don't think it was actually Crossman.
It was ADQ, someone like that. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but Syndra works well. I mean, it does great into Orianna. You've got those early levels. You're doing a lot more damage. So I think it's just kind of a nice pick. We've seen some people going for some other styles into the Orianna, but the Syndra just gives you good burst damage. You've got some CC there as well, and particularly when you've got that Misfortune, you've kind of got options with Syndra. You can either do the ult, which is I kind of always reminisce back to Faker's big play in it, where you ulti first to get a bunch of the balls on the ground, and then you just scatter the weak and stop several different people. Or you can just go for the burst onto a short range AD carry like Jhin, onto someone like Orianna as well. So
if you have a high pressure jungler coupled with Syndra against Orianna, you burn her flash and cleanse early on. She becomes a sitting duck in the mid lane. So that is something that Rippy will have to be careful of. Looks like bans coming through. Darius against Kerberos. That makes a lot of sense. Kerberos is known for his Darius play. The Nocturne and Poppy bans follow up from Wind and Rain, and now EXCEL have something to ban out here. What do you think that's going to be, Gosu?
I think you're just going to go for top lane again, try and ban out something that's going to make it go Urgot, But I guess the Camille, maybe just get rid of something, that big split pusher that's there. But
Camille's Kerberos
there's 2 big things that I kind of want to touch on here. One of them is, this is the first time we've seen Akasune on something different. Like, this is a very different style from the Vel'Koz and Cillian we've seen him on. Like, Pike, you have to go in, you have to be aggressive, and that is not something we've seen from Akasune. So I want to see how he fares in this. And the second one is, no amount of games that I've watched, I've ever seen junglers fall this low down the pecking order. Like, I'd usually see a Nocturne, Kindred, something coming through. The Taliyah has been banned, but I mean, this has been so far. So yeah, I was gonna say you could either go with the Kindred, but it looks like they're gonna go with the Sejuani, who does pretty well. So I'm looking forward to seeing maybe what EXCEL pick up. Could maybe go for the Gragas, but I'm not 100% sure.
Trundle is the classic.
Trundle is the
Trundle's the classic pick into Sejuani. Akali is banned, by the way, so they're not going to pick Akali.
Unlucky.
Unlucky, hard unlucked. But obviously, Sejuani and Syndra combo as well is really nice in the mid lane. You can put pressure onto Orianna really nicely. And Sejuani, I call her the skeleton key champion. She kind of fits in most compositions really easily. She kind of does a bit of everything. And so we'll have to see. It will have to be a blind top lane pick, you think, here.
Is one of Sendo's signatures, but he's just going to go for the Cho'Gath here.
Big front line for the Jhin, basically.
Yeah, lots of tanky peeps. And I know Kerberos is essentially just going to look for a lane pickup that can split push and win that matchup as strongly as possible. Quinn did receive a bit of nerfs, but we shouldn't really talk about hovers.
No, I think Gnar is the good pick. Yeah, Gnar is the best pick, I think, in this situation. It provides a lot of synergy with both the Syndra, the Sejuani, even to an extent the Pyke, setting up for Pyke really easily to get into the fight. So I think Gnar is just overall the better pick, and you can build him in two separate ways. You can build him to be more teamfight orientated, or you can build that on-hit, split push, dominant, max health chunking Gnar that we have seen from time to time. Dan XD played that one as well.
I was actually thinking, I don't know why EXCEL didn't pick it up. I think the biggest problem that they were seeing was that if they went with it here, if they'd taken the Gangplank on the side for Kerberos, then they would have had great slowdown with the MF ults, and you would have had Syndra. There would have been just too much AoE slows for them to deal with. But it does mean it's a very difficult matchup now that Sendo's in. Yeah, Cho'Gath was kind of the other top laner you go for and something like that, but it does set him behind. Yeah, it does set him in an awkward matchup.
I'm looking at these compositions now, and the Wombo combo that Wind and Rain can bring to the table with the execute of the Pyke that can continuously reset. Like, if they get a Sejuani ultimate into a Gnar ultimate or any kind of combo of CC, overlay that with the Misfortune ultimate, which is going to chunk, and then Pyke starts popping off with his own ultimate and started executing people left, right, and center. This is a scary team fight. They also have that out of the, as if the team fight doesn't look like the way to go, they have that out of a split push Gnar that they can adhere to as well. Does feel like this is a mid-game focused composition though, because I feel like if this goes later and later, I'm looking at EXCEL and thinking actually Jhin scales and Orianna scales really nicely. So I feel like Wind and Rain need to win this and try and run with a mid-game advantage.
Lots of pick potential on the side of EXCEL. Thresh obviously always brings the pick potential, but you've got an Orianna there as well. And Jhin, once he gets the crit going, is going to just really hurt a lot. So I mean, EXCEL are going to feel very comfortable with the composition that they've drafted, essentially knowing that they have to be the ones that call the shots when it comes to when to engage, when to disengage. I think that Wind and Rain really just have to go full metal and really try and just force their comp to work, because they've got the tools necessary, but if they're playing EXCEL's pace, then they're going to lose that game.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes down to the mini-game between Fax and Taxer here, because if Fax opens up with that bullet time in the wrong position, just a Trundle Pillar at any point in time can shut that entire combo down. So I want to see how they'd want to play this out. I 100% agree with you. EXCEL have great kite back. I was kind of looking at being like, they don't have heavy engage, but you do have the shots from the Jhin, you do have the slow coming through from the Trundle Pillar. It's enough that you can get yourself caught up to start a fight. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how they try and place themselves correctly so they're not falling prey to Crossman catching out a member or Fax.
I don't know if they can engage really unless they're getting a pick to start things off. I just feel like if you engage, Wind and Rain just right, we pull the trigger, counter-engage, and we've got a better wombo combo than you, because they really have got an easier wombo combo to pull off. There is no real wombo combo for EXCEL. Okay, Orianna Shockwave does work, but there's nothing to combo that into per se. Whereas if you've got Wind and Rain, everything synergizes together nicely. They've got burst damage, they've got execute, they've got stuns for left, right, and center. I would be worried as EXCEL going for a straight 5v5 here, and they also can't afford to split push. I think one of EXCEL's main win conditions here is getting picks, but also they have a decent siege. The problem with the siege is it's so easy for Wind and Rain to engage.
I think if you're on EXCEL, you have to be ahead. There's no other way. Like, if you start falling behind in vision control or even anything like that, trying to wander into a composition like Wind and Rain's there, I mean, you've got the pick off of Pyke, Sage, Syndra, even a Gnar if he's got it far enough ahead and he is going that AD build, which we've kind of seen coming back into meta. He's just going to deal a whole heap of damage to you. So EXCEL are kind of saying to me here, look, we just think we're better. So I think we're just going to have a stronger early game and we can just power through.
The only thing that I think EXCEL have in their favor going towards the later stages of the game is there's not many people that are going to shred tanks heavily on the side of Wind and Rain. You're not going to get that kind of intense tank shred that you'd get from a traditional AD carry from Misfortune. So her power level will start to just kind of drop off. Not a huge amount, but they won't be able to shred that Cho'Gath as easily as I think they would have liked as the game progresses. Difficult to call this one just off the bat, though. I'm leaning towards Wind and Rain. I just think that their composition overall has got more power from more directions. It's got more win conditions. And even though I think EXCEL are probably the better team as it stands, I just like what Wind and Rain are bringing to the table. And also, Fax, you know, we know he likes Jin, but he's on another casting style AD carry. You know, it's another type of AD carry that fits his playstyle, given that he liked Jin so much.
And one that has a lot of bullying power as well. When you place it with a Pyke who's going to have the ability to catch someone out, and Jin is not the most mobile when it comes to escaping what Pyke can throw out at him. Pretty huge, really. If they can win lane, that's what Fax will really be looking to do here on the Misfortune. Be that bully threat.
So, we've got another Twitter question. It's called the technical Twitter question. It means I'm not allowed to troll this one. If you want to get involved at LVP UK and hashtag Forge of Champions 3, the question that I'm going to pose to you is, out of our 4 remaining teams in Forge of Champions 3, who do you think is going to adapt to 8.15? 8.15 the best. I don't know why I said 3.15. Who's going to adapt to 8.15 the best? Who is going to be the best team on this new patch that came out literally an hour ago? Let us know on Twitter with Forge of Champions 3, and we might read out your response if it's not too troll.
And if your answer isn't Hyperion, then we won't read it out.
We will actually read it out if it is a good response and not troll. And if it is troll, we might read it out anyway, so there you go, have fun. Boys, going into this, I want... Goso, I always do this to you.
Yeah.
I want a very quick rundown of these win conditions for the teams.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at EXCEL, it's pretty much a case of they need to get ahead early so they can start to just keep that snowball going. They want to try and get picks with that Trundle pillar, and they want to try and set it up with Jin being the slow as Wind and Rain are running away from them. That's kind of how ideally they want to play this. If you're looking at Wind and Rain, though, they've got a heap of them. I mean, we didn't even touch on the Nair split push into Shogath, which is absolutely fantastic. So I don't even know if Sendo's going to get a chance to enter these fights if EXCEL fall behind. You've got a heap of pick potential. You've got great team fighting. I mean, they got their pick of the litter.
Yeah, they've got a bit. The only thing that we have kind of touched on is that if it gets towards 2 late stages, they might not have the damage to beef through that front line of Cho'Gath and Trundle. And if Trundle and Cho'Gath can do their job and keep that front line pushed away, creating space for the Orianna and Jin, then maybe we could see EXCEL take this. But Dalsy?
I mean, this is the kind of composition that I think Wind and Rain need going into Game 1 of their series. They really want to showcase to the rest of the, Forge of Champions competition that they are here to party. Then they need to be coming into this series as confidently as possible and taking an early win in the series. A swift 2-0 is obviously the most ideal result. That's what any team wants. But coming into the series against, potentially the tournament favorites of EXCEL and taking Game 1 in a convincing fashion would really lift the morale of the team.
It's
a
invigorating.
team that really we don't know enough about because of their experience so far in the Forge of Champions.
We have got a pause, by the way. It would not be UK esports without pause as soon as we enter the game. So as soon as we are ready to go, we will let you know. So boys, I'll give you. I always do this. I do the flip flop very quickly as we go into game. Prediction.
I think for first game will be Wind and Rain. I think EXCEL, then we'll bring it back into the 2-1.
2-1 to EXCEL.
I'm going to go with 2-0 to Wind and Rain.
Whoa, big beef Dalsy.
Let's just do it.
He's already there. Right, as you might be able to hear, we are heading into the game. So this is the point where I'm going to hand it over to Dalsy and Gosu, and they will take it away.
This. Fun on the Rift. People just throwing abilities at each other, trying to get some vision control. Not too many shenanigans, though, yet, Gosu.
No, not too many at all. Although I am looking at the moment at Jin already. He's gone for those 4 pots in the boots, so he's already a little bit nervous about the amount of poke that he's going to be taking in his lane from the Misfortune. So this will help him out a good bit, and especially, with the changes that came through to teleport, there's a lot of ADCs have just completely shifted away from the teleport, which means that you've got a little bit more time until, or you can bully people a little bit more before anything goes awry.
Alrighty, so for Wind and Rain, early advantages going to be necessary. Let's see where they can find them. A lot of early damage available now for Syndra on this new patch. You can see Crossman already exploiting that patch upgrade to the champion. This bot lane's where I'm most focused on, though. What can Fax and Akasuni pull against Venza and Quickstep? Well, nothing right now because they've lost out on the experience war.
Yeah, pretty much just trading hooks at the moment. You see Quickset throws one, Akasume throws one, and Gentleman's Agreement, they just whiz through the air. It'd be interesting to see, though. I think when you're looking at the way that both these junglers want to start pathing, if I'm looking at Nulti, I mean, historically, Kerberos hasn't got a heap of pressure up towards himself in that top lane from his jungler, but I think this is definitely one where Nulti might want to break the meta, break his norm, and try and get up and just delete Sendo out of this game entirely. If Kerberos can start to get ahead, he can become this massive split push threat, even especially as you start moving up towards items like, you know, the Black Cleaver, you can go Frozen Mallet, Blade of the Rune King, whatever you're feeling, just so then Sendo just can't have the impact that he needs, and Kerberos can start to win on these side lanes.
Definitely be a good way to start it off. I don't think there's any question that Kerberos won't be able to keep Sendo under his tower as Nah, but obviously if you can push Sendo back. Oh dear, here we go though. Taxa coming into lane. Kerberos not quite landing the hop that he needs. Taking a lot of damage. He just connects the dots and says no point to flash. First blood to Taxa.
Yeah, there was no need to flash in that situation. He knew that they were just going to follow. Red buff was too strong, was going to slow him down. It meant that he could catch up. And I mean, that's what we were just saying. If Kerberos is allowed to become this big split push pressure, this is fantastic for Wind and Rain. So Taxer goes, I'm not going to have any of that in my game. Just takes him out of it.
Yeah, Nulti not really in a position to be able to even respond. Obviously, it would have gone very different though for Kerberos if he managed to land the bounce on top of the troll's head. But when you miss that jump, doesn't make things any easier. So now already, EXCEL with an early lead. Not really what Wind and Rain are wanting. Little good pull, but oh my gosh, Tax is here! He's all across the map! Forcing the flash is a great pillar! Oh my gosh, the damage! Taxus says, I will take you down.
That was fantastic play coming through from EXCEL, and great turnaround from Quickset. Saw that it looked a little bit awry when Akatsume was able to land that hook onto Venzer, but Quickset, in a matter of instant, just flashes in, sets up Taxer so well, and the hook comes through. Quickset is able to solidify the kill. Does go over to Taxer though, who now has 2 under his belt, but I mean, you gotta be happy with that.
So much early pressure coming out of the Jungle King here. Taxer putting his work in, now gets to farm up. There's an Infernal Drake on the map as well, which I'm sure we'll get to talk about soon. Already, EXCEL are just showing up Wind and Rain. We'll have to see if there's any hope for them to come back in this early game.
I'm just looking to see where the vision control is for everyone right now. I'm not sure if a ward just died on the Wolves of the Wind and Rain side of things, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. I mean, when you're that far behind, well, not that far behind, but you've already lost out a good bit in the bottom side of the map. Venzer now has already got the boots of swiftness, so he's going to be a very quick boy in the bottom side alongside Quickset. So if you're looking for a lane that you have the potential to try and go aggressive for, I don't see why Taxer doesn't just wander down that way again. If you can start to get Venzer ahead, make sure that Fax is just being put continuously behind, you can try and pick up that Infernal Drake. And if you're looking at the burst damage that's just there from EXCEL, from Venzer, from Rippy, add a couple of Infernal Drakes onto that could spell bad news bears for the Wind and Rain side.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be tough times ahead. They're going to have to keep their heads high, see what they can bring back. See Nulti making aggressive moves into the jungle of Taxa here, just trying to find any vision, if possible, on the bot side of the map. Already though, Venza Swiftness Boots going to be able to speed around the lane, really follow up on the hooks that Quickset puts out. Do see Taxa up on the top side though, so that's where we can kind of expect any action if there was to be any, but I think for now EXCEL just going to be very happy farming lanes.
I think one of the cooler adaptations that we've seen actually coming out of the top laners in this is that neither use their teleport to get back to lane. Usually when we're looking at these early stages of the game, it's TPs galore. The second you end up dying or you end up getting knocked out, you end up teleporting back and you'll pick up your first couple of items and you'll be happy. What we're seeing this time around is neither top laner really wants to use that TP. It's such a long cooldown. It means you can have no impact elsewhere on the map. So we're starting to see how the impact of that teleport change has really come to fruition in this game.
Yeah, no, for sure. If one of these guys in the top lane can make their teleport super impactful, especially in a fight, then definitely kudos from that point of view. Otherwise, it's very unfortunate. It's one of those things, like, the better play obviously is to hold it.
Yeah.
But if you then don't use it, kind of sad.
Oh, Taxer sneaking in again.
Do have Syndra here though. Crossman's come down. It looks like it's going to be Wind and Rain trying to start up this fight. Akasuni in trouble though. He just gets deleted before they even get in. Oh. Here comes the teleport from Sendo. Fax. No, just about runs away from the knock-up. Going to be okay for now. At this point, if you're Akasuni, you're just like, Crossman, you baited me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he just tumbles in. I was like, the second I saw it, I was so sad for him. But it does mean that EXCEL have got free roam on this bottom side of the map. They're going to pick up the Infernal Drake for themselves. And as well, Fax Burn cleansing that after a great hook from Quickset as well. So it's rinse and repeat essentially for EXCEL. And this is exactly what we were talking about in Champ Select. EXCEL need to get ahead and need to stay ahead. And with an early game like this, they're well on their way towards it.
Absolutely. 3 kills in the lead. 1,500 gold and an Infernal Drake as well. All going right here for the EXCEL squadron. Wind and Rain, they've tried to make some plays, just hasn't really worked out. And we kind of talked about how Akasuni here is playing a champion that's just not his style. Pyke obviously is a lot of fun when you do play him in the support role, but I mean Akasuni's known for his Zillion of all champions, and clearly that's been banned away against him most times. I wonder how practiced his Pyke is and if it's just something that they wanted to try out in game 1.
I think it definitely looks like it's well versed and well practiced. I think it's just unfortunate timing. It's in their mindset that we need to go aggressive, we need to start abusing this power that we have with the MF. She's got the serrated Dirk there, we've got that good bunch of lethality, and they just haven't been able to really utilize it to great effect. Venzer and Quickset have been staying very safe. Venzer, as we said at the start of the game, had those extra couple of potions, so the poke and bully lane that was coming through from Wind and Rain just didn't have the pressure it wanted.
Another question really is, what's Nolte going to do about this game? Already we've seen 3 kills, all off the back of kill participation from Taxa. Nolte needs to get his head, see where he's going, because I think if EXCEL are just allowed to continue playing at this pace, then Wind and Rain go into the mid game relatively far behind, and there's just not much coming back for them. Kerberos, oh no, missing the ultimate there on Nah. Sendo's just gonna spam emotes. Really get inside the head
already. I love it. Yeah. Especially when you know that these two are going to be going up against each other, just clashing heads over and over again. This time it's not kind of the big split push rolls that we were expecting from both these guys, but you can be damn sure that we're going to see it coming up as we start to progress through this series.
Yeah, absolutely. Mind games for sure. Alright. 10 seconds and the Rift Herald is now here to kind of join us in this great game of League of Legends. Look at that, Tax is on the bot side and Quickset's getting ready to potentially pull him over the wall.
The flashes are up again though, so this is going to be a little bit of a tougher gank. Quickset has his as alongside Venzer, so this will be a very explosive one.
Flash play, Fax in trouble. Jin, artillery from the back line, and that's going to be Fax eaten up by the troll once more. Akasuni with a broken stopwatch at 10 minutes gets to use it. The change comes through. Timely usage gets him alive, but wow, 4 for 4 so far for Taxa.
Yeah, Taxa's looked incredible on this Trundle, and he's looked great on this pick for a substantial period of time now. Even going back to European Masters, this was a pick that he looked incredibly strong on all throughout Premiership, and now we're seeing it again in the Forge of Champions. This guy just looks unstoppable when he gets his hands on this Trundle.
Yeah, Shockwave pulling in Crossman. Taxis looking for the pillar to knock it back. The flash comes through the pillar, finds a great knockback, but I don't think Rippy can quite catch it. Low damage, just not enough to kill the Syndra here, but wow, they pushed him out of lane and burnt both those summoners.
Where the hell is Nolte when this is going on though?
That's the question.
This has been so many times that he's just been farming away in the jungle and has zero impact. Taxter's been able to get into the bottom lane 3 times now, has blown summoners, has gotten kills, and Nolte has had zero impact. I don't even think, has he even picked up a Scuttle Crab?
I can't remember a Scuttle Crab being taken to the red side, no. In the top side, Kerberos has to jump away from Sendo. This game has just fallen out of control here for Wind and Rain. And yeah, Nolte, just not present. I mean, he's at Wolves right now. We can see that. Where will we go next is the question. I mean, the chickens are up. I guess he goes to the Razorbeaks. But then, does he gank?
I mean, at this stage, it looks like there's about a 10% chance that he's going to gank at some stage. He's got the ward. He got the ward. Okay, we've seen him. He's killed something.
I mean, I've seen him clear wards out.
Yeah.
Vision's important. Okay, Gosu. You do have to clear Vision out as a jungler.
I
and place Vision down as well.
Yeah,
Ooh.
he does have the higher Vision score, so I'll give him that much. But yeah, it just hasn't really worked out for the early game for Wind and Rain. And this is kind of the thing we're wondering. What would be the kind of the big question when we came into this? How would they fare against a team as well versed as EXCEL, who are just kind of kings of the early game to a certain extent. They look incredibly strong a lot of the time. They have a game plan coming into situations like this, and it looks like Wind and Rain have kind of just rolled over.
Certainly not looking good for them right now. It is only game 1. Of course, you can make the much needed mid-game adjustments. We are going to see Taxa head back down to the bot side, but there is a ward here to stop a surprise gank happening. Of course, Quicksep also doesn't have his flash available, so can't go for any more flashy plays. Next Drake will be spawning in just 40 seconds. It's another Infernal. Not really what you want to see when you win in rain.
I mean, they could try and make a play on the top side of the map. Black Cleaver has been completed on Gnar, so they do have the kind of the priority up there. Syndra's also doing pretty well here in lane, so the top side of the map is kind of where Wind and Rain are strongest. So if I'm looking at Nulti, that's where I want to be putting the pressure. That's where I want to try and, you know, pick up something like the Rift Herald, force a fight around that objective, where it's very difficult for the likes of Sendo to get involved, because he's going to be knocked around by Crossmen. He's going to be walking across the Glacial Storm coming through from Nulti as well. It makes it incredibly hard for him to get involved, or Glacial Prison even. So I think if he's got to try and do something there, because I don't see them winning a fight on the bottom side of the map. It's, you know, you haven't even completed the Duskblade or any sort of lethality item on the MF. Jhin already has the Storm Raiders completed, and you don't want to be fighting into these item breaks that have just come over for EXCEL.
Kerberos has just gone Mega as well. This is really poor timing for a fight for Wind and Rain, but here comes EXCEL looking for it regardless. That's going to be Kerberos knocked up in the air. The bullet time just dissuading any further chase. EXCEL say, Wind and Rain, this is not your Infernal, Drake. We'll take that one, yes please. And Wind and Rain just have to walk away, tails between their legs.
Yeah, they came in incredibly split up there. They didn't have a kind of that strong, big front line that we're hoping to come from Kerberos and Nulti. As you said, he just lost the Mega Gnar, so that Sleepy Poro was not going to be doing particularly more, or not even Poro, what are they? Tristana?
Minions.
Whatever. No, I can't think of the word from. But anyway, it's going to be just, they can't do very much in that situation. And we already said it. You know, that was literally just Trundle, Sendo, and Jhin on the backline opening up with the curtain call and dissuaded the entirety of the Wind and Rain team. Now they get the Dragon. Now they get the bot turret, and it's just gone from bad to worse.
I mean, Nulti looks like he might be able to get the Rift Herald by himself whilst Kerberos tries to do some damage to this topside tower. But yeah, I mean, it is just bad to worse. You've got 2 Infernal Drakes on the EXCEL roster, a 3,000 gold lead. They get the first brick as well in the bot lane. Lots of things just tick, tick, tick if you're a coach of EXCEL. Just feeling very happy.
Gnar is a Yordle. That's the word I was looking for.
Yordle,
yes.
right. That's it, yeah.
We get there eventually, but I don't know if Wind and Rain are going to have the opportunity to get there, because it's just been completely dominating from EXCEL. Now, they do have the Rift Herald, which means that they might be able to try and do something. But if I'm looking at their side right now, how in the hell do you try and get up to one of these turrets to use that? You don't really have pressure on the mid lane to try and go for it. You've now got the bottom lane of EXCEL up on that top side of the map, so they're going to be pushing in towards that top tier one. Maybe you can try and use it to help out Gnar on the bottom side of the map and get Kerberos up and running, but already you're kind of seeing that their options for this are dwindling.
Yeah, maybe we start a fight in the top side. Nulti is roaming up. Could be his first interaction, but no, he actually is heading towards the mid lane where Rippy and Crossman are currently duking it out. Yeah, I don't know. It's and I mean, not to be the bearer of bad news, but we already talked about the fact that this game does not get easier for Wind and Rain the further it goes on, because these tanky targets just become harder and harder to kill if you are Wind and Rain, and you don't really have the tools to deal with it. I mean, you're not going to be able to do it very easily as a Misfortune. But hey, look, Rift Herald finds the kill in the mid lane, Tara, so we did get to use it. And that's a pretty big one to take down. So
yeah, I mean, it'll definitely help them out if they can try and get in and get vision in this jungle now. Just a slight bit short range, just so that they can know where Taxer's moving about, how they can maybe catch out Venzer and Quicksep on a rotation down towards the mid. But it looks like they're a little bit scared to try and open up into the enemy jungle just yet, and don't really have, you know, the control wards there to try and do so, especially with how well EXCEL have been doing of clearing out the vision in the river. It's a pretty daunting task to try and get in.
CS levels, very even. Very, very even, considering how far behind Wind and Rain seem to be in this earliest stages of the game. But right now, the brute force that is Trundle, 3-0 and 1 Taxa, means that this top lane tower will be taken out.
Though.
Maybe they just trade it. Yeah, it looks like they will. And I don't think Wind and Rain will do much about it. Maybe they continue pushing, though. There's no teleport on Kerberos, so it's not like he can join Fax and Crossman up in the top side. And so, yeah, seemingly really smart move. They're just going to go for the fight. Fax has to flash. Curtain Call doesn't quite connect any of its shots. Managed to push the Misfortune back, and now they can look for the turret.
Yeah, gotta give it to Wind and Rain. Actually, hang on, Kerberos, don't do it, buddy. Oh, that was a lot of damage.
Yum.
Yeah. Forget about all that, though. What I was gonna say is Wind and Rain. Actually, I don't get a chance to talk.
No, Rippy in trouble. Good use of the shockwave, but he gets stunned up, cleanses it through, and flashes the Sejuani ultimate. Backup arrives. What can they do? Akasuni, the target, can quick-step land the hook. Nah, is going to be the dash away. Looks like the rest of Wind and Rain will be here to save the day.
For how poorly this early game has gone, Wind and Rain have done a good call to answer back for a lot of the pressure that EXCEL have put down. They've now answered for the 2 towers, and mid and bot are both gone. And yes, their mid lane turret is going to fall very soon, but it's definitely objectives that they shouldn't be picking up. And as we were kind of talking about, you know, the big team fights is where they shine. So if they can keep themselves in somewhat of a situation where they're able to answer in the fights, they have a win condition that's still there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. EXCEL have done a poor job, I guess, of pushing Wind and Rain out of this game. They've kind of just allowed them to be at an arm's reach, but it's not a long arm, is essentially what I'm saying. I'm the analogy king here, Gosu. So, I mean, with Dragon spawning in 1:14 and more importantly, Baron in 50 seconds, this is where you start to see these big fights break out. The wombo combo for Wind and Rain is there, as long as Fax doesn't just get himself killed.
He's alone? Why is he alone?
He is very alone, and he's very dead. That's going to be Venza picking up the kill. And, I mean, question mark?
Yeah, there's a few that are popping into my mind anyway. I'm not sure why he was so pushed up. He didn't have Akatsuni there. Nolty wasn't there either. And it just ends up giving over this free turret as Taxer. No, he doesn't want a turret.
Holy moly, there they want kills. The flash hook, Crossman. You're not going anywhere, pal. Rippy will pick up the kill. Turret falls, the second one immediately going to be taken down here if EXCEL have their way. Huge shockwave, and that's Akasuni gone as well. They're looking for everyone here on this fight. And Wind and Rain are just happy to give it to them.
Oh, the heal!
The heal!
Sendo, is he still?
Just to keep him alive. Holy moly, a tanky one indeed. Can he go Mega? No, he can't. He gets deleted. Bullet time will finally end this party. But EXCEL are 9-0.
And this Misfortune is 0-3, and the top lane, Kerberos, is 0-3. And when you're looking at the big picks that we are kind of hoping to see shine, it was the Nard, it was the MF for Wind and Rain. Either the split push or these big team fights with the bullet time raining down on top of it, and those win conditions are slowly slipping through the fingers of Wind and Rain, and you gotta wonder where they're gonna try and find some sort of answer, because right now nothing is coming up in their favor.
Oh dear. It feels like Wind and Rain are just not playing as a team right now. The communication game, I can't see it. And obviously, you hear communication, and you have to be in the channels to really know what's going on. But visually, what Wind and Rain are putting out here is a team that is disjointed.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to me, like, Noti's presence in the early game was just non-existent, and it just gave EXCEL free roam of the map in its entirety. Look, if you end up not being in position for a gank, go get some wards in the enemy jungle, because you know you're going to be safe in that situation, even if you're on the far side of the map, and then you just know when you need to try and avoid Taxer, because Fax and Akatsume were going for these aggressive plays, had no idea where anyone on EXCEL was, and they end up paying for it time and time again. Like, Akatsune rolled directly into the hands of Thunder.
Yeah, no, that was not where you want to be, really. That's the Cloud Drake now picked up 3. For EXCEL, Wind and Rain trying their best to hold vision around this Baron area, but they can't really take over it. And now Akasuni may be caught out. Big chunk of damage does get locked up. Quickstep looking for the hook now. A good use of the dash will get Akasuni to safety. And I mean, let's talk about Quickstep for a second here, because we know he likes Thresh. His Thresh has looked pretty sick.
Yeah, he's been incredibly strong and have been picking up... Oh, hang on a second.
Well, that didn't go where you want it to, but I don't think it matters when everyone's here. Should just be the kill going through. They managed to pick up one. It's their first kill here. Venz is dead.
We did it, guys. We're on the map, but it's going to be a case of what can they actually try and get from this.
I mean, yeah,
it looks like they're moving towards the Baron. Yeah.
Teleport available for Zendo. Shockwave there for Rippy, and he is in range. Curve Rush has just gone. Mega might just be enough to dissuade EXCEL coming in. No, never mind. Look at this. 3 members of EXCEL run in, and 5 of Wind and Rain run away. They are not testing Rippy's Shockwave skills here. They're just going to walk away.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like it could have been a bit shaky if Zendo got in for the feast, but there was no teleport available on him, so Wind and Rain realistically could have just turned and fought that, but instead they used a lot of their big ultimates in the fight before, and Nulty didn't have his available, Crossman's was down, and you were kind of relying on a big Gnar coming through from Kerberos. Had the potential to do it, but they're a little bit worried.
Yeah, look at this. Is Akazuni okay yet? Looks like he is. EXCEL trying to push down this mid lane tower. I do believe Zendo did use the teleport, cancelled it, as the EXCEL roster kind of said, well, we did our job, they're not on the Baron anymore. So he's going to get a bit of extra cooldown. Nulty pulled in, gets away. Good knockback comes through from Crossman, scattering Taxa backwards. But another hook lands and another flash used. Nulty just not allowing Quickstep to get in on top of him. So much pressure put onto the jungler of Wind and Rain. Potentially now they can just look to move towards the Baron pit, regain all that vision control.
And they've got the, well, not quite yet, but when you've got a feast available on your team as well, it's just so easy to secure that Baron. And Taxa can smite, follow up pretty handily, and it makes it a lot more difficult for Wind and Rain to try and get in and steal that one away. So realistically, they are looking to see if they can pick off a fight, and if EXCEL are a little bit too hasty in getting involved in this, it could set up Wind and Rain to get back into it. We've already talked about the big wombo potential that's there, and if you're clumped up in and around the entrance to that Baron pit with a short-ranged Rippy, a short-ranged Venzer, you can then find these big wombo combos that can turn the game back in your favor. Don't forget, we're only 24.5 minutes in. That Baron does a lot of damage right now.
No, that's true. This game feels accelerated due to the fact that, I mean, well, EXCEL have accelerated at 9-1 so far with a 6,000 thereabouts gold lead over their opponent's Wind and Rain. That doesn't mean that Wind and Rain are out for the count just yet. EXCEL continuing to dictate the pacing, forcing Wind and Rain to play their game, really just deciding where the fights break out, and this pick composition that they have is working out fairly well. The issue is that they can't really just go straight for Baron unless they're comfortable with the idea that they will be forcing a team fight.
I mean, yes, but also look at the vision control that is in the pockets of EXCEL right now. They've already got their wards placed, but every member is holding on to at least one control ward, if not 2. And when you look at the inventories of Wind and Rain, they're kind of dwindling on empty. You've got 3 there. There's people now backing. Haven't even picked up a control ward as well if you're looking at Crossman. And I mean, this just means that it's so easy for EXCEL to keep control of this area and get that pick that they need, as you were saying, to start off these fights. If they can get it onto, even Nulty right now doesn't really have the tankiness to deal with everything EXCEL are throwing at him.
Yeah, that's true. Does look like Wind and Rain recognize that vision is lacking. They're trying to find it. But of course, the issue is that EXCEL have so much vision on that Baron side of the map, and then they have all the vision ready to go to be replaced as soon as Wind and Rain attempt their go at it. So right now it's a battle of attrition, one that Wind and Rain are losing massively. Chance now to move towards that Baron pit though and find some vision, but of course there's no way for Wind and Rain to know that. Those backports completely off camera.
Yeah, they're trying to hang on for a little bit here. You can see the Infinity Edge is nearly completed on Jhin, and they still have the stopwatch onto Orianna as well, which is really nice for any upcoming team fights. So they can just hit the item breakpoints that they want, particularly if you can get that Gargoyle Stone Plate as well complete onto Shogath. It makes such a big difference in these fights that would be happening around the Baron. So I think it's more of a calculated slowdown coming through from EXCEL rather than them really wanting to try and force the issue.
Another Drake will be spawning in 50 seconds time. You have to think that EXCEL here will pick this up regardless of what it is, due to the fact that they can, you know, continue to have the damage. Here's that replay though of Fax being called out so long ago.
Yeah, I mean, look how far back Akazuni and Nulty are here. He had no right to be up that far, and it just meant that it gave them an easy pickup on this mid lane turret, and it just snowballed completely out of control. Zendo coming across, a good pillar there, followed up by quick sets, great flash, and especially when you're flashing between the turret and the wall there, it just sets you up. It's hooking fish out of a barrel for quick set, and it makes them look so good. Never mind.
Out. Yeah, look at this. Fax is in trouble. He's not going to get away. It's a double kill for Tax. The Nolty's dead as well. Oh my goodness. Coming out of the replay hot with the kills that EXCEL won, and it's Baron time, Gosu.
Yeah, and you're trying to stop that fourth Drake going over, and you end up giving them the Baron. I mean, I think EXCEL will take that trade pretty happily. Kerberos is going to be trying to play Guardian here, but I don't think there's very much they can do. No smite available. Feast isn't up, but smite on Taxer.
I mean, look at this. This is the Baron's free. A Pike's not going to be able to execute it away. But Crossman and Kerberos have moved over towards the Infernal Drake, which was the whole cause of this issue. Oh, he failed to jump over the wall. Well, that's awkward, isn't it?
Oh, wait, what?
Oh, okay. Same.
Got him. You show them it.
Same! And now, look at this. Uh-oh, Crossman and Kerberos at the Infernal Drake. Oh, they're going to get it. Okay. Not too much issue. You have to contest an Infernal Drake, but, I mean, you don't want to lose a Baron for it.
Yeah, I nearly feel looking at this Wind and Rain composition, if they'd substitute out the bot lane a little bit, I think they could end up with a lot better of a composition. Maybe substitute Varus and Tam Kenshin, but we're going to be looking at this replay here, and you can just see it's going to be the fight that was missed just off of the start as we're looking at the last replay, but Nulty gets caught out here completely, and Trundle Pillar again coming in so big, it just limits the space that they can move around, making it easy for Quickset, and just flash in, and once this is all set up, Fax is on his own, Crossman's on its own, and when EXCEL consistently are finding the way onto the backline like this, there's just nothing that Wind and Rain can do. They're just running for the hills time and time again.
Nolty wanted that fight, but his team was not on the same page. Another game of communication issues from Wind and Rain. Something they're going to have to clean up as we move towards game 2 shortly, I assume.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at Wind and Rain, substituting, as I was saying just before that replay, Varus and Tam Kenshin the bottom lane, you get a lot more safety. You still get that kind of pseudo wombo combo because you got the Chains of Corruption, which can spread to several different people. And I think you got someone that can actually shred through the front line of Sendo and Taxer in these situations. Right now, they're just lacking damage, lacking any way of dealing with these big, beefy members of EXCEL. And EXCEL, because of that, are just having the run of the map.
So EXCEL gonna make their move for this mid lane inhibitor tower. Crossman knocked up, and now in a bit of trouble as the shockwave deletes him. That's going to be an ulti taken on down to a double kill for this big fat Cho'Gath Sendo. Looking to try and find his opposite number, but Taxer will chop that one away. 3 kills for EXCEL, the inhibitor down, and this massacre of game 1 is going to come to an end with Fax losing his life once more. Sendo to make it 0-5 for the 80 carry of Wind and Rain. As the Nexus turrets fall here, you have to look at what EXCEL brought to the table and go, wow, these guys here, we thought they might be the best in Forge of Champions, but they were not messing around. Wind and Rain did not contest them whatsoever.
It wasn't even close. At no point in time did they go, yes, Wind and Rain have found their opening in the early game, they can try and exploit this. It was just nothing. No spark of life, no anything.
That was absolute stomp. I'm not even going to dress it up to be anything, but it was a stomp. And we kind of went in hoping to see a Wind and Rain that we thought potentially had the air, the gusto to be able to take on EXCEL. Didn't look even close. Even with a composition we thought had some good win conditions there, we felt Fax brought out a cool pick with the Misfortune. Honestly, a lot of it came from Quickseth and Taxer. Taxer specifically had an amazing game this game. I mean, Taxer was on fire, really, really good. Helped nullify what was a tough matchup for Sendo in the top lane, got his bot lane rolling. Jhin spikes earlier now because of the AD carry item reduction you saw there. All of the items that favor Jhin are all reduced in price, a little bit reduced in power as well, but Jhin scales so well with so many stats that it doesn't really matter so much. And honestly, I don't see anything other than an EXCEL 2-0 right now, unless Wind and Rain.
I think that my 2-0 Wind and Rain prediction could still come true.
Could how?
Possibly, yeah.
I mean,
you could be onto something.
I'm saying there's a chance.
There's no chance.
But you're saying there is a chance.
No, I'm saying there is no chance. I'm saying that it is now mathematically impossible for that to happen.
But that means there is still a chance, right?
No, mathematically impossible for that to happen. And your prediction also not so good.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't predict, so 2-0 EXCEL. Yeah, that was.
That's cheating.
It's really difficult to say EXCEL just did everything really well, and Wind and Rain really did not have a good game. I mean, it just felt like they were not playing anywhere near to the level that we've seen them be able to perform to in recent times. Syndra, I think, is a decent pick on this patch, but we never found the opportunity for Crossman to get going, and I feel like Crossman for me is the linchpin of that composition.
I think the linchpin of that composition was Nolty, and it's like Nolty nowhere. Like, he just wasn't there. I think he potentially was playing RuneScape at the same time, and you know, farming and checking up on all of his different stuff. I don't like, that's what I do when I play Jungle Shyvana, and that's what it looked like to me. So I mean,
feels bad, man. Yeah, I think honestly, it was just a really solid performance from EXCEL. It was a composition that I felt maybe had some weak points, especially in that top lane, but Taxa nullified all of them, really shut down Sejuani early on, and Nolty did not look good in any way, shape or form. We are going to be going to a very short break. When we come back, we'll be having this second game in the series. Can EXCEL clean this out in a 2-0 double 20-minute game, or have Wind and Rain got life in them yet? See you soon.
Hello and welcome to Forge of Champions.